are thinking about learning how to sell annuities, I don't care if you're a life insurance agent already or you've been thinking about becoming a life insurance agent. In this video, I am going to help you understand the purpose of annuities, what it takes to sell them, and how you can implement this into your business. Now, I started off in life insurance a number of years ago, almost 10 years ago now. And when I started off, I was selling exclusively term coverage and IULs. Now, that had its pros and cons. Now, I'll say right from the beginning, when I first started out, I drank the Kool-Aid. I believed that everybody needed to have an IUL. That was my mantra. You got to have an IUL, and it's a tax-free retirement, and it's market upside with downside protection. Be your own banker, infinity banking. Totally drank the Kool-Aid. I do not subscribe to that opinion any longer. And for the simple fact that IULs aren't for everyone, and they aren't a great investment. They are a product that has a very specific purpose. And you may have different beliefs on that, but obviously they pay a large commission for a reason. There's almost so much juice in there, right? And if they're paying a large commission and they're not getting that big of a return, there's a reason why that exists, right? So the way that you can be most successful, and this goes for annuities and everything else, is not to push a product. It's not to sign up with a company, be a captive agent, and then push a product. The reason why is because there are so many different scenarios, situations, instances, tolerance for risk. And the more that you have access to, and the more products that you know about and know how to position, the better you will be able to help the person. You are going to get paid to help the person. You're not going to get paid to write a high IUL or a high annuity. I mean, you do technically, but you're not going to be able to do that very long. And you're not going to be able to scale. You're always going to run into limits when you just try to push premium. And it's the same way with annuities. You have to understand, and if you're thinking about moving over to annuities, or you're new to the life insurance game and financial services, and you're thinking about it as a profession, listen, it takes a lot of experience, a lot of conversations. And if you're struggling with that right now, you need to think about how you can help somebody. Your ability to help somebody will directly correlate to how many annuities you sell. So what does that conversation look like? You obviously have to have a lead source. You have to be meeting with people that are somehow qualified for annuities, typically people that are closer to retirement and they want to protect their income, or they want guaranteed income. And there's some other features and benefits that go along with them as well. But listen, you do not sell annuities on what the insurance companies sell you on. You do not use illustrations to sell annuities. You don't sell prospects on the caps and the par rates and the premium bonuses and the accelerated death benefit and all this jazz. Like, those are the features and benefits that the insurance company present to the agent to get you to use their company. That is not then for you to turn around and then go tell the agent how good the caps and the par rates. They don't give a shit about any of that. I promise you. And if you switch around the way that you're positioning, talking about and selling annuities, you can actually double your amount of sales in a heartbeat, because you're having a genuine, authentic, consultative conversation with someone, and you close more cases when you're doing the right thing. So we don't necessarily want to position the best par rate and the best cap. I mean, obviously you want to get them the best deal, right? But people buy annuities for preservation of capital, principal protection. They want to get and potentially outpace inflation, although that really wouldn't have happened the last couple of years. But when I sell annuities, I really position that as a safe, secure asset that will get you 4 to 6%. That's it. And the easiest way, I'm telling you, once you know how to have the retirement conversation, the easiest way to sell annuities is not with an illustration. It's not with a product brochure. It's not talking about the market upside and no downside with the floor and the step graph and blah, 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 blah. None of that. Now, it'll get you to 100 grand. I was making 75, 80, 100 grand my first year and a half or so into the industry, and fine. And I capped out there because I wasn't helping people. I wasn't helping get them in a better position. The way that you can sell annuities, and because I know you're thinking like, why use illustrations? So if I can't use my illustration, how can I do it? It's simpler than you might think. And when I tell you this, You may or may not believe it, but if you scroll around on my channel, you can actually find live closes. You can find me in real life closing somebody using this method. And I'm going to summarize or sort of abbreviate it for the purpose and length of this video. But let's assume you've met with somebody, you've had the retirement conversation, you've done the discovery, and you're kind of approaching this recommendation phase. Everybody's got a different sales process, but there comes a time where they're like, what should I do? I go over the absolute basics, and the conversation goes like this. Mr. and Mrs. Client, really are only 3 types of investments that you can have inside of your portfolio. Now, I'm making a general statement here, but for the purpose of our conversation, there's 3 types. The first type of investment is aggressive. Aggressive investments are equities like Tesla and Microsoft and Apple. You'll notice that those go up fast, but they also go down fast. So in theory, you could have an infinite return, but also in theory, you could have 100% loss. So for every 100,000 you put in, it could go to 0 or it could go to infinity, hypothetically, right? Now, the second type of investment that you have is conservative investments. Conservative investments are bonds. Now, you may have heard of bonds. They're a little bit more secure than the equities, but there's a trade-off. They don't get as much return. With bonds, you can assume maybe a 3 to 5 or 6% rate of return. Now, they have a couple of types of risks. Even though they're more secure than equities, they do have interest rate risk and they do have default risk. Interest rate risk is just the proportional or inverse, rather, relationship between bond prices and interest rates. As interest rates come up, it drives the bond prices down. And we've seen that happen over the last few years. Default risk or credit risk is the chance that that company goes out of business and they don't pay that note anymore. So they are more secure. There are different types of bonds where you are senior in the liquidation process if a company were to go under, but they're typically secure. They get you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% at the most. The third type of investment is called a protected investment. A protected investment is an account with a bank, insurance company, or credit union that is principal protected. Now, they'll also get you 4 to 6%. However, they're not exposed to default risk or interest rate risk. You may have heard of things like certificates of deposit, annuities, things of that nature, right? Now, of those 3 types of accounts, and based on everything that we talked about so far, forget about the pages and pages of statements and the rates of return and everything else, of everything that we just talked about and that I just said, what is your gut feeling on how much should go in each one of those buckets? And then you pause. This is exactly how I have the conversation. And I'm telling you, it is so far superior to pulling out illustrations or most of the other sales processes that are out there. Because when you ask that question, you're almost always going to get the same result. You're going to get a pause. They're going to think about it. They're going to make a guess. And then they're going to say, I don't know. What do you think? Now, just by the nature of the conversation and the fact that you're holding that financial professional position in space and you're in front of them and you're talking to them about that, they are going to defer to you. You are the professional. And this is where you have to be responsible. This is where you have to be ethical. This is where you have to make the suitable recommendation. You can't just recommend what pays the best commission. They're going to sense that it's off. You're going to have to answer to them in the future if it's off. I mean, at the very minimum, it's got to clear suitability, right? So if you're marching around trying to put as much premium into annuities as possible, you are limiting the amount of money that you're going to make because it's not the most ethical solution. People will pick up on that, and that's sort of just what you'll pull in. But if you ask them that question and pause, so out of those 3 types of accounts, how much do you think you should put in each one? And you will get varying answers. You'll get 50-50, 50 in protected, 50 in aggressive. You'll get 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. You'll get 25-75 or 10 or whatever. There's nothing left in there, but you get the idea. Most everybody that I've asked that in the last 5 years, at the very least, has allocated 50% to the protected bucket of money, which is crazy. We have some people that want to allocate 75% or 100% to the protected bucket. I want to take no risks. I don't want to lose a penny. I want no risk. I want it all protected. I'm okay with that 4 to 6%. But no matter what the answer is that they give you, there's one thing in common to all of these conversations that you're going to have. because they're going to ask you what you think. They're going to say XYZ, but I don't know. What do you think? And this is where you have to make that recommendation that is the same recommendation you would make to your parents or your siblings or your friends. You can't go after the commissions. You're going to get paid no matter what. There really isn't, it should be senior to make the right, ethical, suitable call and recommendation, no matter if you're going to make 5,000 or 10,000 or 15 or 20. And I know that seems hard, and I know it seems counterintuitive, and I know you might think initially that you're going to make less commissions, but I'm telling you, when I threw out illustrations and I switched to this way of closing people, the cases closed easier. They closed faster. I didn't have people ghost me. I got recommendations. I got referrals, and I got future business with those people. I'm telling you, unless you have a very well-built sales process, and some of the IMOs and agencies do, unless you have a very well-built sales process and you are flying by the seat of your pants, it's best to fly by the seat of your pants with something like what I just said versus pulling out the illustrations. Like, I used to do it too. Listen, I get it. I used to do it too. It can work sometimes. You're going to mostly get the paralysis by analysis when you pull out the illustration. But let me tell you something. Illustrations are legal documents between the insurance company and the primary insured. That's it. It's not sales material. It's not marketing material. It's not a sales presentation. It's not a sales process. It is a literal legal document between the primary insured and the insurance company. So why are we using them to close? Why would we use that as material? Why would we use that as a conversation? And if you did that before, you get into, most of the agents that I work with don't even know what all the stuff is on the illustration. The premium base, income benefit, the income base, the guaranteed minimum, like all of those components of that are really just the legal agreement. And people's attention naturally goes to the worst. Well, what's the worst? Well, the guarantee is 0%. You're guaranteed 0%. That's it. What if I want to take money out? Oh wow, I'm going to lose $26,000 if I take money out day one. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. You can close some business like that, but it will limit you in the future. Now, if you need to get in front of people to meet with, to have the annuity conversation, that's an entirely different video. That's part of our program that with the 7-figure advisor. And we have tested and true methods to get in front of people to have the retirement conversation. Now, listen, you will not, and I challenge someone to prove me wrong on this, you will not find a marketing company or a lead source that will get people showing up on your calendar, booking an appointment, and say, hey, Jim, I really was thinking about buying an annuity lately, and I just don't know which one has the best caps and the best par rates, so I figured I would meet with an agent. You're not going to get that. 1 in 100,000, you might get that, okay? But that is not something that you can duplicate and replicate and scale. And the reason why is because the people that are looking for them go straight to the insurance companies and they buy them. They're the do-it-yourselfers. They don't need you to help have that conversation. And your value comes in educating them on what their options are and then getting them into the right option based on their risk threshold, their timeline for retirement, their age, their income, where they're getting their income from in total, whether it's a pension or the state or the federal government or whatever. But that's why. So you're not going to have people coming up to you in droves going, I'm thinking about buying an annuity. Like, if you find that, let me know. But you will have people coming up to you saying, I'm concerned about retirement. I don't know if I'm making the right choices. What if I don't have enough in retirement? How am I going to be taxed in retirement? How much is Social Security going to pay? Should I be invested differently? I'm concerned about the market dip that just happened yesterday. All of those are questions that you need to be able to field to have the annuity conversation. Most agents are very well educated on the products, on the caps, the par rates, the 10-year history, the this and the that, and everything else. They spend all their time knowing these products. So the thing when they get in front of a prospect, they know the product to sell. People don't care about that stuff. They care about principal protection. They care about pacing with inflation. For that portion of their money, right? And if you're securities licensed, you are a major step ahead, because people that are securities licensed can then capture that, million or $2 million or $5 million account. They slide some of it over to annuities. They put the rest in AUM, and then they have quarterly or annual meetings, and they can continue to kind of move that money back and forth as it makes sense based on their needs. So if you're not securities licensed, and you'll see in some of my other content, highly recommend it. I went the first year that I was licensed, doubled. I 2x'd my commissions. And you would think it would have been less because I was writing some of it into AUM, but I doubled it only because I started making good recommendations, and only because I had that securities option. It's just a little bit more legitimate in the end. And if you want those high net worth cases on a regular basis, you got to get securities license. I mean, there's no way around it. So everything in this video is really just the tip of the iceberg on the annuities conversation, but I wanted to give you a foundation and a reference point to refer back to in the future. Because when the people on this program start getting all of their marketing and all of the appointments and all of the leads that we send them into their account, they have to know that, and they have to have that as a foundation in order to close. You are not going to close if all you're concerned about is commissions. The prospect can smell it. We used to call it commission breath. They can smell it. They can see that it's insincere. They can tell if your recommendation is against what they told you about their situation. And guess what? It's unethical. It's not correct. It's not right. And I am guilty of it myself. Like, I didn't know any better when I was in the first industry, and we were just like, hustle, 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 sell, 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 close, close, close. And I didn't like the way it made me feel, especially when I knew I was making a recommendation based on my commission versus based on what's best for the prospect. So those couple of things will help get your foot in the door into the annuity game. If you need a program to help you get into the annuity game with lead gen, training, appointments, coaching, mentoring, group calls, a sales process similar to the one that I just talked about, check out the 7-Figure Advisor program. There's a link below in the comments. And if you like this video, I put out content all the time. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification whenever I post a video like this. We'll see you guys soon.